New at 10, tears and anger from a family after the Racine County District Attorney calls the shooting of Dante Shannon justified.
We're going to fight. We're going to continue to fight.
What's good, everybody? My name is Hamin Phillips.
And I'm Renee Beck-Santiago, and we're here live with a very serious issue tonight with Raw Topic. We have Vivian Johnson with us today, who is the parent of Dante Shannon, who was shot and killed in a police-involved shooting in January of 2018, and she's here with a live session. Thank you so much, Vivian, for being here live with us to have a voice for your son. And our goal with Raw Topic is to bring people on to the show to have a voice in our community, to let us know ways to make things better in Racine. And our goal is to get us all back together as a community. And we are very blessed that Vivian, despite everything she has gone through with the loss of her son, that has agreed to come and talk to us and talk to the community with a question and answer session in regards to the fatal shooting of her son in 2018. Vivian, thank you for being here with us. And as a community, we're very, very sorry for the loss of your son, Dante, in 2018. And we want to ask you ways that we can improve as a community and so that these things don't ever happen again. And so to do that, we've done a lot of research the past week of the killings, and there has been some astonishing information that I found when I was doing research about these cases, and I'd like to ask you some questions about them. So your son was 26 years old, and on January 17th of 2018, he left to go to get a haircut. And later on that day, you found out around 4 p.m. he was shot and killed by 2 Racine Police Department employees. And to our knowledge, it was 37 days after the shooting that the Racine District Attorney's Office got that information, and 62 days later, the DA decided that no charges would be processed on those officers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the day. What happened earlier that day when Dante left?
Well, I got a phone call from my second daughter, my last daughter, saying that my son had got shot on 16th Street. But then she called me back and said that he had got shot and he was on Park. So by the time I got to Park, because it was snowing real bad, he was being carried to the ambulance. So me and my other daughter left and went to the hospital, met them at the hospital. By the time I got to the hospital, I couldn't breathe. So I pretty much don't remember too much at the hospital. But they came to us like at 8:30, 9 o'clock and told us that he had passed.
And what were you initially told?
That he had been shot on 14th Street.
Were you able to see your son? How long did you have to wait to see your son?
3 days later at the funeral home.
And so I have a 26-year-old daughter, and I can't imagine the pain of that if I wasn't able to see my daughter after she had been killed. Were you given an answer as to why you weren't able to see him?
They said after someone had been shot like that, they take their body away as soon as possible.
When you say shot like that, what exactly do you mean?
It's a bad crime scene. They have to remove them, so don't nothing be moved.
And also, from what I researched on the case, is it true he was shot between 10 and 17 times?
17 times he was shot.
but it was even more shots fired, correct? That missed him?
Over 40 was shot.
Over 40 was shot.
But 17 bullets was in him. 17 holes.
40 shots were.
Over 40 shots was fired, and 17 bullets was in his.
Did they ever explain why in the world did they have to fire 40 times?
They said because he kept raising up to aim a gun at them. Never got a chance to shoot the gun, but raised up 3 times to shoot at them.
And I know that we talked about before the show that there were some specifics that we weren't able to discuss on the show out of respect for you, and also because there are open cases involved with this. But were you told initially why he was pulled over?
They said they initially pulled him over because he didn't have a front license plate on his car.
Okay, so.
But clearly he did. He had a license plate in his front windshield.
So Renee, does that make sense? I mean, how many you go past that way?
So we talked about that this week when I was doing research on this, and I couldn't believe when I figured this out. So your son was in the 1400 block of Park Avenue when he was killed, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So his car was on Villa, I believe. He ran from Villa to Park.
Okay.
And that's where he was killed at, on Park.
Now, I think one thing I know we were talking about is that I personally didn't know that you had to have a front license plate. So I immediately thought to myself, and I'm going to get this to show you. Do you see this right here?
Yes.
Okay. This is my front license plate of my car that I haven't had on my car for about 15 years. I didn't even know that it was illegal not to have a front license plate. And I personally have gone down the 1400 block of Park Avenue working on Wisconsin Avenue for almost the past 5 years. In those past 5 years, that would mean, give or take, a weekend or a holiday or a vacation even if I drove down that street of the 1400 block of Park Avenue, it would be at least 300 times in the past year, which would be 3,000 times or more that I've driven down Park Avenue in the past 5 years on my way to work without a front license plate, and I've never been pulled over. So even though our attempt is not to segregate the community even more, statistically, I would have been more likely to be pulled over on the 1400 block of Park Avenue, since I take that very street, to work every single day for the past 5 years without a front license plate. You know, I know that we want to believe that we are not a racially segregated community, but when you look at a statistic like that, it's somewhat shocking. It's somewhat shocking because I didn't even know I needed my front plate. In fact, when I left the dealer, they were like, "Oh, you're fine. You don't need your front license plate."
I'm glad you brought that up as far as the statistics of the chances, because when we were doing our homework on this case, didn't we find that Racine is made up of about 83% white and 12% black? So to me, what is shocking after doing my homework on the case of Tyrese West and Dante Shannon is 12% black. So out of 12%, 2 black kids happen to be killed by police,
That's a pretty high statistic.
that's a high statistic, and then I don't understand how that could happen with 12% out of 83%, which happen to be white. You know, so the fact that 2 out of 12%, that's pretty high, and it's kind of scary. You know, if you ask me.
So there was a lot of unanswered questions, and last year in November of 2018, the mayor of Racine had proposed body cams for the Racine Police Department, which consisted of a $500,000 budget. And he mentioned in November of 2018 that having body cams be mandatory would eliminate a lot of unanswered questions. Do you know if to date Racine County or Mount Pleasant have body cams in place?
Racine doesn't. Mount Pleasant have some, but they're not mandatories for them to wear them.
So let me get this straight. The police department has body cameras, but they're not mandatorily. They don't have to wear them or turn them on, or what are we
They
talking?
wear them at their discretion if they feel like they need to have them on.
So that to me is that's kind of shocking. Why have body cams
if you're not going to use them?
If you're not going to use them, I don't get it. What are we spending taxpayer money for if these body cams that are supposed to give us answers to what happened or what's happening, we don't have the answers because the body cams weren't turned on? I don't understand.
Well, we were talking a little bit before the show about the cost of body cams for Racine County, and they had mentioned that it would be $500,000. So something I said to Vivian and Hamin, what if we start a GoFundMe page and as a community, we pay for the body cams? Hamin doesn't seem to be okay with us obviously paying for something and providing it to police. However, if we find a way to save one life because a camera will give us unanswered questions, wouldn't that be worth it?
Well, to be honest, Renee, I don't know that even if we started a GoFundMe and we got enough money to get these body cams, we still can't guarantee
that they're going to wear them,
that they're going to use them, wear them, that they're going to be turned on. We have no guarantee of that.
Or if they did have them on, when it's time for them to review the tape, they doesn't work in that time.
Right.
Exactly.
So it'd be pointless to get that.
Right.
To your knowledge, did the officers have a body cam on during the killing of your son, Dante?
No.
To your knowledge, has there been any release of if there has been any body cams on the officer involved in the murder of Tyrese West?
I have no idea.
And I think something I found out, and I want to share it, was that California has a mandatory body cam law. And I want to pull up the statistics related to this. So California considers body camera video public records and requires law enforcement to release these videos to the public no later than 45 days after the incident. Do you think that body cams being mandatory or legal in Wisconsin will help these situations?
I think so. I do.
Definitely.
I think they would.
Yeah, I mean, when these types of situations are happening, it just causes so many questions to the community, to the parents involved. They want to know, parents especially, they want to know what happened. And if officer, for whatever reason, wasn't wearing a body camera, or he was, but it wasn't turned on. And now you're telling us, oh, there was a gun involved. Well, now the question is, well, can I see that footage of the so-called gun that you claim that, my child had? So I feel like if the body cams were on and working, then a lot of these questions will be pretty much all answered. So
We wouldn't have any unanswered questions.
Right.
so doesn't
We
it
would be able to the public would be able to legally see these things. They would be able to see what's going on, and the questions would be answered. And it's very concerning to me because in 2017 we had a population of African Americans in Racine that was 13%. Now, when you look at the statistics, which comes from the actual Census Bureau, Racine County, as of July of 2018, has a percentage of African Americans that is less than 12% or less. That means our African American men and women are moving out of Racine.
I can't wait to leave.
Why are we losing this population to our county? Is it because of some of these racial disparities?
Yes. They don't get a fair trial here.
Do you think that's a Wisconsin thing too?
Yes.
Not just Racine, but
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
A Wisconsin thing.
I mean, I hear that a lot. A lot of, family members, friends, they all, a lot of them say, Wisconsin just ain't fair. I'm getting out of Wisconsin. When it comes to child support issues or anything, a lot of people just don't like the way Wisconsin does law, and a lot of people want to get out.
And in the Midwest, I don't know that we have as much of a voice as citizens as we should. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
I think we need to have people sit down and listen to us. I think there's discrimination happening to minorities. There's discrimination happening. I just was discriminated against in a huge situation that I'm going to bring up later in one of the episodes. And there's discrimination happening in this community to a very wide scale. And I think that we have to somehow get us back together so we don't lose any more of our African American men in this county, or anyone for that matter. Do you agree?
Yes.
So I just want to bring this up. My sister, actually, the daughter of Muhammad, she has a good point here. She said, where is audio? Any video in neighborhood? Body cam? Did any officer on the scene wear a cam that day? Did the squad cars have cameras? We need answers for the execution of Tyrese West and Dante Shannon now.
No.
Do you have any answers to that? Were there any cameras in the police cars?
They didn't have no cameras in their car. They didn't have body cams. And the cameras that a neighbor had, they showed us half of it. They edited majority of the thing.
What do you think was edited out?
I know a lot of it was edited. They don't show him running into the lady backyard. They only showed us from him being picked up from the fence to the gurney for the ambulance to.
So a lot of it was trimmed.
Yeah.
A lot of the original
edited.
footage was trimmed. Yeah.
Do you believe your son would aim a gun at police?
No. If he would have shot it. He's not gonna aim it and not shoot it.
Was it shot?
Shot it.
Was
No.
it shot?
They said he never shot. He never fired
A weapon at all?
So he never fired that weapon, but yet 40 shots was fired at him.
over 40.
Over 40 shots, which 17 connected.
Yeah.
That's just, that's devastating. I don't understand.
So you were never able to see him at the hospital?
No. I got to see my son 3 days later at the funeral home.
Do your lawyers tell you if that was legal, that you couldn't see your child after your child had been killed?
We never questioned that. They just told us that they always have to take the body away before when an accident like that happens.
When any accident happens?
Like that been shot or stabbed or something really bad, they have to take the body away.
And it was 3 days before you even seen the body, right? 3 days after.
3 days after.
Is that common? I mean, is that, I don't
know. I haven't heard of anything.
They did an autopsy and all of that before they brought them back. I got a second autopsy.
You did get a second one?
Because they autopsy.
Was there some discrepancies in their autopsy?
The death certificate that we got was
Suicide.
What? After he was shot at 40 times and then 17 connected, somebody tried to tell you it was suicide?
his death certificate we got
Said suicide.
said suicide.
Has that been changed?
Absolutely. We had a second autopsy done that we paid for out of our pocket.
To change that
A second opinion.
right.
And the second opinion was definitely murder.
And where was that done?
It was done in Chicago.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, the fact that whoever, I don't know, would say that it was suicide. How do you shoot yourself 17 times is what I want to know.
They said he gave them the right to shoot them when he aimed a gun at them.
Did you ever receive an apology from the police department at all?
Yes, we did.
And did that happen right away?
It happened a couple of days later, months later.
Okay.
Months later. That Chief Howell talked to us. The mayor talked to us.
How do you feel like the mayor handled this situation? What's your thoughts on that? You want to pass on that?
No, he. I guess he felt he did his job. I don't feel he did his job.
I watched a video on YouTube with you and at the time, how do you say it? Nakia. And you guys were very unhappy with the fact that I think there was no answers at one of the meetings, or
When we had a town hall
meeting, right?
I wasn't there. My kid's father was there, but they couldn't tell him anything.
So
and we didn't get anything until 61 days later.
So what was that meeting for?
For us to ask questions, but no answers.
I noticed that during that town hall meeting, there were no responses from them.
They said that they couldn't discuss it until the DA talked to us.
Did they invite you to another meeting after that?
No.
Were you ever able to have a question and answer session with the mayor or anyone in the community about that?
We had a couple of meetings with the mayor and Chief Howell, and the same thing was, they don't know.
So you were told that they didn't know?
They couldn't answer our questions. Every question that was asked, he didn't know what they didn't know.
Did you guys ever get any answers to any of the questions you had to this day?
To this day.
You still have many questions and no answers.
Many.
Unanswered questions?
Yes.
Have you noticed inconsistencies with different stories?
Yeah.
What do you think we can do as a community so that this never happens again?
I have no idea.
Do you think the body cams would help?
The body cams I think definitely will help. But some of them have them, some of them ain't using them.
Do you think that the county has the $500,000 available for the body cams?
I'm sure they do. All the money they taking from the drug dealers and they put it to use.
So we could figure out a way to propose some type of community involvement to get body cams a law in Wisconsin. Have you known anyone that's done that yet?
No.
So couldn't everyone in the community kind of, what would you do, petition the mayor, the court? I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, we'd have to find out
but it
the
would-
specifics how
It
to
would
do
be, the
it.
community would have to come together and try to ask for these body cams, right? But
Well, and we'd have to figure out how to get it to the proper channels to potentially have it a law for Wisconsin.
right, because California they do have a law
They
which
have
says
a
that
law,
body
correct.
cams must be turned on, right?
Correct.
So why are we lacking in Wisconsin?
We're the Midwest. Everything typically comes later, unfortunately. California has had this law in place for a while, and I don't know why we don't have that type of law. I think we all need to work together and find out why, and actually not talk about it, but be about it as far as getting some kind of law in place in regards to body cams in Wisconsin. We cannot lose another life. We
And
cannot
especially lose a life with no answers
with no answers
to the
Right.
questions of what happened, was there a gun, and just all these questions and no answers. If we had some footage, it would take care of a lot of these questions.
Car cams and body cams.
Car cams and body cams. Right. Now, at one of the town hall meetings, Clyde McLemore from Chicago, Illinois, came to a town hall meeting and suggested having a citizen review board in Racine. Do you know if anything like that is in place, Vivian, to date?
I have no idea.
From what I was able to research, we do not currently have a citizen review board in place, to my knowledge. And that may be something, if we have more of a voice as a community, that could.
We done set up plenty of meetings at the town hall, and don't many show up. They always on Facebook, I'll show up, the location, the time, but nobody show up.
So it's just a lot of talk and no
It's
action.
a lot of talk, no action.
And they're not showing up to actually implement a change.
Right.
So people want change, but no one's willing to do the work.
Right.
And that's why we're kind of losing this fight.
Right.
Kind of like we can't talk about whatever president we have if we didn't vote.
Right.
We can't complain
Right? So we can't.
if we didn't go vote that day, you know.
So it's the same thing with this. We
Because
can't.
not voting is voting. So not doing anything, not showing up is not putting in any effort or work or change. Actually,
I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
just want to bring this up to you. We got a good question here from Spring Violet. She said, when the law is mandatory, is there consequences if the officer doesn't have a cam on? So I guess what she's asking is, when they do make it mandatory in Wisconsin, what do you think will be a consequence if the officer was not wearing a body cam if it's a law?
I'm assuming they would be charged
They should.
Yeah.
if it's a law and they
should.
don't have it
If they were
on.
involved in a shooting and
If you're an officer and you mandatory to wear your body cam and it's not on or you're not wearing it, absolutely, they should be
Criminally
criminally
charged.
charged.
Correct. I mean, if it's a law, I would believe anything that would be a law that wouldn't be followed through with would get a criminal charge.
Right.
Have you been given any answers at all at any of the city hall meetings on what we could do for any of these changes?
I haven't actually been to a city hall
Okay.
meeting. I'm always at work, but my kid's father and his family always, I don't have too much family that here in Racine, but some of my family come out to support us. But my kid's father, his side of the family is always involved in everything, and they haven't got any answers.
So I wonder what actually happened to the proposal that the mayor talked about at the end of 2018. You know, I have not seen any comments about what actually happened with that big proposal that was suggested for 2019. I don't.
You mean the proposal for body cams?
Right. I mean, there was a huge proposal at the end of November saying this was going to give us a lot of answers. It was going to help prevent terrible things
And
happening,
then it
people were
kinda
going to get, and then it just
fizzled
fizzled, and we
away.
never really got an answer
So
as to why we don't have the cams in place. Why do you think we're pulling over people for license plates or
Or riding a bike with
riding
no
a
light.
bike?
I don't know, but I know that was the first time that I ever heard of somebody being pulled over for not having a license plate, which he clearly had a license plate. So it was some other reason why y'all pulled him over.
The thing, you know,
The reason y'all told us.
right.
That was the reason you got.
And what I don't understand about this case is, you know, you pull someone over a license plate, but how does it end up being shot at 40 times and then 17 shots fatally? How does a pulling over of a license plate end up so brutally? And you know, I don't understand that. That is very frustrating for me.
They said because he ran from them and that he had a gun. But
So one of the questions also a lot of the community has is if he was running away, that's not a threat.
Harming nobody.
It would be running away from the target.
Police. So how do you go from running to being
he got shot in his back
shot in the back?
While running away.
See, I don't understand that either. I mean, if you're shot in the back, how is he a threat to the police? So there's just a lot of questions that I have when it comes to these kind of cases. Because some things are just hard to wrap your head around, as to something as simple as pulling someone over because of a license plate to them running and then being shot at and then being shot at 40 times and then connecting 17 times. It's like, how does this even happen? Why is it happening?
You know, I remember saying to you, Hamin, and I remember saying to you, Vivian, before we started the show, I said, you know, I was a victim of a crime where I was almost killed, and my interaction with Mount Pleasant Police has been great, and my interaction with Chief Howell has always been great. And but I also said to you, but I'm white. And statistically, if we have only 12% of Racine that's African American, and 2 men out of that 12% only, with 80% being Caucasian or another race, if 2 of our African American men have been shot by police, it just statistically doesn't make sense. And although my interaction has been good, people will say you have no idea because you're not African American, which I probably never will have that experience. And that is so disheartening. And people who know me will say, you know, I almost don't believe it, but statistically it's true. It's true. So what do we do as a community to, you know, because not all African American people dislike police. Not all white people dislike African Americans. Not all African Americans dislike whites. So what can we do to get us together so that these things don't separate us as a community? Is there anything we can do?
I think that that's a tricky question, in my opinion. I think a question like that, you know, we're talking, what can we do? I think it involves a community. It involves everyone has to make an effort for change. Everyone will have a job. The police will have their job of wearing the body cams, doing what they're supposed to be doing. If something's gonna end up with someone being killed, we want to know what happened. We don't want to keep waiting for answers. We want the police to be in compliance by wearing body cams to give us the answers. So I just feel like everybody has a job to do in order for this change to happen, and the whole community will have a job to do, you know, and it's hard to try to get everybody on board. That's the problem, you know, is to try to get everyone on board. But what's happening here in Racine, and with these killings, and then we had the incident with the police officer who was killed as well not too long ago. Race, with
Also a terrible incident.
oh yeah, also a terrible incident. So with all these things happening, something has to change, or else Racine is going to go downhill.
And that seems to be why statistically people are moving out.
Yeah, because I can't wait to leave here. My mama was killed here.
Your mother was?
By a drunk driver 21 years ago. And now my son.
Was there justice for that? For your mom being?
Yeah, she did 7 years in prison, got out, got 3 more DUIs, and died 2 years ago for cirrhosis of the liver.
So it's fair to say you've had pretty rough here in Racine. I mean, you've had it rough.
I've been here 31 years. Actually, I'm 21.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Do you think if you lived somewhere else, Vivian, that your son would still be alive?
I'm not going to say that. I can't say that.
We don't know.
I don't know. They killing all over the world. Police is killing all over the world. So I can't say that. But I just need a change. I've been here too long.
You're ready to get up out of here.
Yes.
Where do you
but
think
I have
you would
to
like
be here for the lawsuit.
Yeah.
I have to live in Wisconsin.
Wow. That's just, I can relate to wanting to get away from places, I got a comment here I wanted to read from the Diary Muhammad. If body cams become mandatory, the law enforces the need to obey the law along with the taxpaying citizens. If not, there should be a grave consequence. So yeah, I agree with that comment. If body cams are, I think we mentioned this a little earlier, but if body cams are mandatory and the cop doesn't wear it and an incident happens, then yeah, there should be some serious consequences. And that's what we need to happen to kind of nip this whole thing in the bud, is just give us the body cams, have them turned on, be in compliance so that we can, as citizens, feel safe and feel like justice was served. If you're telling us that you have a body cam, but you just so happen didn't have it on, well, that ain't helping me. If something's going on and I need to refer back to that footage and you say, well, I didn't have it on that day, I just didn't feel like turning it on. How is that helping anybody? We expect them to be on and operating while the police are on duty. I feel like maybe the only time they shouldn't be on is if they're doing some kind of traffic direction, whatever you call that, that doesn't involve interaction with people. But anytime you are interacting with people, those body cams should be turned on, period. And Wisconsin needs to really step up on that law, get that pushed, because we cannot keep having these incidents where young Black youth are accused of having guns and there's no proof of it other than the word of the officer. I'm just sorry. It doesn't fly. We need proof. We need the footage. I feel like we're taking steps backwards into this racial profiling all over again. Remember when racial profiling was so big a couple years ago, when it was like, if you fit a profile, you're getting pulled over? I feel like we're going backwards, and that's what we're falling right back into. You got African American kid on a bike late at night. Oh, let's pull him over. He don't look like he doing. He's unsavory looking. Why is he in this neighborhood on a bike? I just feel like we are going backwards with this whole thing of pulling people over for nonsense.
Well,
there's no reason for somebody to be shot dead on a bicycle.
Well, and I remember in 2007, I graduated with another degree, with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And I remember doing research on racial profiling back in 2007 even. Okay, so now we're in 2019. And I remember pulling up statistics about, actually, the title of my paper was Driving While Black. And I remember statistically all around the world that African American people get pulled over more than Caucasian people. So there is somewhat of a stigma with driving while black or racial profiling. And we have to agree as a community that, I'm sorry, but this is statistically true. This is statistically true.
I believe it.
It's true. You know, so, you know, what can we do, you know, to change all of this?
I like this comment by Spring Violet. She said the more things change, the more they stay the same. And then she said maybe we haven't made so much progress. And that's true. I mean, and it's sad that that's true. But what progress have we made here in Racine right now?
None.
I mean, really? I almost feel like we're getting worse than we were back in the day.
I think we can't be scared to dip into this. We can't, we can't hate. We have to all collaborate. You know, we have to get together, and we can't be scared. You know,
These guns and Racine is getting ridiculous.
The guns.
Yes. Every other day is somebody done got shot.
Yeah.
And it ain't even by police. It's by your own
Just in
peoples.
general. I keep this on me everywhere I go. It's my concealed carry permit.
Oh.
And I tell you one thing, I'm even scared sometimes to have concealed carry, because I'm scared, well, what if, you know, I get shot because I have concealed carry? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I feel like we have to, I mean, there's so many guns and so many every day I think there's been a shooting in Racine, or almost every day.
Almost.
And for what? I mean, they're for ridiculous, you know, Facebook arguments, or, you know, we're mad at each other, or, you know,
one side with the other side.
Yeah, we don't want to go directly to the source, you know, and just ask questions. And we're scared to deal with our issues head on. And so everybody's shooting everybody.
Yeah.
It's not accomplishing anything.
No.
People are scared to leave their houses. They're scared of other people shooting them. They're scared of police shooting them. They're scared of getting shot randomly on the street.
If you're familiar with the purge, it's like people just kill who they want.
It's like,
And I feel like we're almost purging. People are out here purging. They just killing who they want. Police, everybody. It's just ridiculous. It's like we need to get control. You know, we need to.
But we need to get control as a community in a positive way. We all need to, the things that are uncomfortable that we're not talking about, we all need to talk about. You know, the things that are making us all beef and argue, we need to sit down and we need to have discussions about those things. We need to, you know, hug each other and love on each other. And I know that seems so cliche.
But you can do that though. A lot of people can do that. You can sit down, discuss this problem that you have with such and such person, but as soon as you walk away, it's something totally different.
Right.
It's something totally different.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I have did that with several boys that had a problem with my son. See them 2 days later, they don't fought somewhere.
Yeah. So you were trying to defuse the situation and handle things respectfully and appropriately, and they still ended up sometimes not right. Right. I mean, yeah, we can try to do things right and still have things end up wrong.
Right.
So, but the more of us that try to do the right thing, maybe will decrease some of our violence and wrongdoings in Racine, hopefully.
Hopefully.
You know,
but I've known Vivian a very long time, since high school.
I'm only 21.
and I'll tell you guys this, Vivian is a very kind, beautiful soul, and I know for sure she's an excellent mother. So I really appreciate you coming here on the show today, and it just gives me goosebumps and just happiness that you were able to speak and have a voice for your son and for other people in the community. A lot of people that can't come on a show like this, and do an interview like this after they've lost their child. There's a lot of people. And you really
Since he passed.
helped us to understand some things, and I can't imagine how difficult that would be for you or anyone that has lost their child to do.
You know, one thing I wanted to just bring up quick is, you know, one thing I did notice during our research is that some of the officers that were involved in the shootings of these kids, they kind of had a history that I'm just wondering why wasn't the force looking into. I mean, I read something about this officer in Tyrese's case really beat somebody really bad. I think that person lived in Illinois or...
I actually have a copy of that.
And there was a warning. I believe the wife of the victim that was beat by this officer that was involved in the Tyrese West's shooting, she warned the police force about this officer and said it will be a matter of time before he kills someone.
Well, and that's kind of what I'm talking about in Racine, about we have to listen to people. Don't you agree, Vivian? We have to listen. We can't just say, oh, they're just another person with another problem. We have to listen specifically to the problems that are going on, incidents that are happening. We have to take the time and listen. Now, this particular incident was in 2014. Apparently, the officer that was involved in the killing of Tyrese West was involved in a situation in 2014 where he actually punched someone, broke someone's jaw. This person was in the hospital, and a family member actually signed by a Jeff Kowalska in Racine. They actually sent a letter to the police department, and in that letter, which is actually released online now, it says that he actually says, my wife warned the police department that this man would eventually kill someone. My wife warned the police department that this guy would eventually kill someone. And this was signed by Jeff Kowalczyk, who I am not sure if we may potentially reach out to him and see if he's willing to come on the show. But it looks as though that he has been okay with releasing the incident that happened with his son. And so the question is, are we listening to people? Are we writing things down? Is there some kind of breakdown? Is our police department overworked, or is there what is the breakdown where we can't listen to people who write a letter like that? You know, if someone writes a letter like that to me and says, I think this guy's going to eventually kill someone, I would say I better figure out a way to find out why they're saying this. Don't you agree?
Yeah, but Stillman that killed my son, this is not his first incident.
Really?
Either.
What happened in the past with that?
He beat somebody so they was almost dead, left them for dead. And he had another incident. This is not his first rodeo.
And this was one of the officers involved in your son's shooting.
Son's shooting.
And he had a pass.
Yes.
Did they release that pass?
Mm-hmm. It's on the internet.
Wow. And I just don't understand how this is happening.
If they still working.
How are they still working?
They still got a badge.
They're working right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Officer Stillman is
confusing.
a crime unit, gang unit now. He's not Racine Police Department no more. He's a crime unit, gang unit for Racine.
To this day, right now.
To this day.
And the whole situation with your son was not the first rodeo with this officer, you're saying?
No.
So it was a matter of time, in your opinion, that
He's a sniper.
Wow. Referring to the comments, Spring Violet said, what standards do we hold police to? Is there a shortage of police? Now that's a good question. What standards do you think, Renee, do we hold police to? I mean, what do you think?
And also she said, is there a shortage of police? You know, I mean, right, where's the breakdown? What's going on that we're not listening to the community? You know, is there, you know, I didn't look at the research on that. Do either of you know by chance, are we short on police right now at all? You know, it seems like we are nationally in general, you know, short in general on police officers, you know.
I know we're short of police officers that are willing to do the right thing, it seems like these days, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
Do we know offhand, is there a psychological evaluation, do you know, for police officers currently?
It should be.
definitely should be. I
So
would think. I would really hope so.
So we need to look into that. If they're, from what I remember years ago, there was a psychological, you know, what type, that's what I would want to know too, like what type of psychiatric evaluation is going on here? You know, is it a psychiatrist? I know nationally we're short on psychiatrists, but are they being evaluated emotionally and physically
Before they come on the force.
right, to be equipped to handle with emotional situations and physical situations that are going on?
I agree. I definitely think that if there is no mental health type testing for officers, there definitely should be.
Yes.
There's just too many
Right.
trigger happy officers, it seems like, lately.
I know we had a discussion the other night, and I said to you, I said, you know, and again, this may be because I'm white that I feel this way, but I said to Hamin, I said, we had an honest conversation, and I said, what officer is going to work for $50,000, $60,000 a year if they don't really care about the community? That was one of my initial thoughts, right? Because I said, nowadays you could be a manager at McDonald's and make $60,000 or $70,000 a year, right? So I said to myself, well, they must really care about the community because they really don't get paid a lot of money to protect the community when you really look at it. And your response to me was, number one, Renee, you haven't had any bad interactions because you're white. And number two, you said some officers go into this job for power.
Yes.
Because they have been, you know, maybe they have been.
Some of them ain't got that badge.
Right.
They ain't nothing.
Right. So they have been maybe bullied as a child,
Yes.
or whatever. So that type of position gives a powerful feeling, like I can make or break your life. I can utilize this to tell you to sit down because I'm an officer and you better sit down. And so, you know, that was your response, and I really thought about that, and I thought, you know, that's true. So there are, you know, even though I respect that we still do have officers that are protecting our community, that do have a love for our community, we still have ones there. There are some that go into it for power as well.
Well, even Spring Violet, you know, she made the comment, are we ignoring things in their black background? You know?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be something in the background that you could spot this kind of behavior.
Right.
They ignoring it.
They're ignoring it.
And that is scary, to be honest, because I know I've got children and you've got children. And it's scary.
Vivian, do you dislike all officers?
No, absolutely not.
And I think that's important, though, also for the community to know, you know, how loving and forgiving you are. I don't know that it would be easy for me to.
It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. But there are some good cops out there. I know it. I know some that are good. I haven't heard anything, seen anything, no bad backgrounds on a lot of officers.
Right.
But I know there is some that is crooked.
Right, like any profession.
Yeah.
You know, good doctors, bad doctors, good nurses, bad nurses. And I think that that's something also we want to stress, that even though, you know, there may be some bad officers, as with any profession, we also know a lot of good officers in this community that may die for us. You know, so and
So
that's.
can the good officers
Please stand up. We're gonna have a problem here.
Please.
Please, we want the good officers.
I mean,
We want the good officers of the
Please.
community. We want them to work more hours and get more people that they know that are good on the forces.
we want to, I think the community needs to get their trust in the officers back. Well, what's been going on with Tyrese West and Dante Shannon, I feel like we are losing trust in officers. We need it back. We need to know that officers are still here to protect and serve. I don't know if the community feels that way anymore.
We don't. Well, I don't.
Right.
So do you
I
feel
can't speak for everybody, but
that you would be protected in the community if something happened to you?
no.
And a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, they do.
We got a comment here by Christine Stone Burner. A psychological evaluation needs to be performed quarterly on all law enforcement
I
officials.
believe so
Yes,
too.
yes.
Preventative maintenance.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Just like, if someone is, working, they get random physicals where we have to have physicals for
every
school,
year,
random
annually.
drug tests. Hey,
Yeah.
let's pick a few people out of the department every year and
mental
let's do
health.
a random mental health evaluation.
Well, it doesn't even have to be random. It
Yeah.
could be based on their incidents that they were involved in the year.
Mhm.
Were they involved in some type of altercation with someone? Did they beat someone? Whatever.
Right.
If they were involved in something that's a little sketchy, maybe they should be evaluated.
Or were they involved in something so traumatic that they had to see, like someone who died in a motor vehicle accident or someone who died in a motorcycle accident, that maybe they can't mentally continue to work, but they're
are
still working.
Yeah.
And maybe
PTSD,
maybe they have
or
right,
PS,
maybe
yeah.
the PTSD is
Yeah.
affecting them in a way that maybe they shouldn't be working after those incidences, or
So
should have some time off to,
I wonder if the
to
community
regroup.
would feel safer if there was that type of proposal to law enforcement.
I believe
Can
so.
you give officers these annual, quarterly psychological tests to make sure that they are sound in mind before they put that gun on, that strap and come out here in the streets and work?
And if they're not, put them in counseling, put them in programs that can help them through the PTSD, and then make a decision. Are they okay to go back out on the street or not? Maybe they're not. And maybe if they're not, we can find a way to financially help them until they can get a different type of job.
Because that's what happened to the officer in Milwaukee that killed the young man in the park.
What happened?
The officer that killed the young man in the park in Milwaukee, he resigned because of that.
Was that
Because something happened?
Because he said he had issues.
PSD?
So he took power to just resign from his position.
Mhm.
Right.
Was this the young kid that they thought was like 20, but he was 12 or?
No.
That ain't that?
Dontre Hamilton.
Okay.
So that was a responsible move, good move for him. Just to leave, his job because he knew he couldn't do it.
Wow. So I guess it'd be nice if more officers did that. If they felt like they couldn't do their job, resign. Period, Just for safety measures. I mean, geez, it's just terrible to have to wait till you kill somebody and then be on trial before you realize maybe you shouldn't have been out in the streets working.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like we touched on this.
We thank you for watching Raw Topic. Vivian, we thank you so much for coming tonight and doing this personal interview, which has been the first. And we respect you and love you, and thank you so much for doing that for the community.
And we appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching. And remember, you guys, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That link is in the description. And don't forget to hit that alert bell on YouTube so that you guys know the next time we post a video or when we go live on YouTube as well. And as always, you guys, remember, you guys can't keep it real.
You can always come raw.
Raw Topic. Peace out.
Bye.
Done.